General Voxtar stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched thousands of ships gather around him. The Imperial war fleet was the largest ever assembled. 50,000 vessels filled the space around the military staging area. There were battleships as long as cities, carriers filled with fighter craft, and support ships carrying enough weapons to destroy entire planets. The general was proud of his fleet. He had spent weeks choosing the best ships and the most experienced crews. Every captain knew their job. Every gunner had practiced their aim. This would be the battle that finally showed the galaxy who really ruled the stars. "Sir," said Commander Holt, his second in command, "we have finished loading the assault ships. The troops are ready." Voxtar nodded. He was a veteran of many wars. His red skin was marked with scars from old battles, and his yellow eyes had seen the fall of dozens of enemy worlds. Today would be another victory to add to his long list. "What do we know about human ship designs?" he asked. Holt activated a holographic display. Images of human ships appeared in the air between them. The ships looked strange to Imperial eyes. They were smooth and rounded, with large sections that seemed to serve no military purpose. "Our intelligence teams have studied these designs carefully, sir," Holt said. "The humans seem to focus on science equipment rather than weapons. Look at this ship we captured from pirates who had stolen it." The hologram showed a detailed view of a human vessel. Voxtar could see that most of the ship's space was taken up by laboratories, living quarters, and what looked like recreational areas. "Where are the weapon systems?" Voxtar asked. "Here, sir." Holt pointed to small sections of the ship. "These appear to be energy weapons, but they are very small. Much weaker than our standard ship guns," Voxtar smiled. "And their armor?" "Very thin, sir. It looks like they use their armor more for protection against space debris than enemy fire." "Excellent," Voxtar said. "These humans have built ships for exploration, not war. They will not stand a chance against real military vessels." While the Imperial fleet prepared for war, something very different was happening on Earth. In a quiet government building in Geneva, President June was having a meeting with his cabinet. The room was simple and comfortable, with large windows that looked out over a peaceful lake. President June was reading the Emperor's message for the third time. He was a calm man in his 60s with laugh lines around his eyes. He had been elected because people trusted him to make good decisions, even in difficult times. "So," he said to the people around the table, "it seems we have upset someone." Defense. Secretary Una was a small woman with sharp eyes and a quick mind. She had been Earth's top military strategist for 15 years. Right now she looked amused rather than worried. "The Emperor seems to think we are planning to attack his empire," she said. "Our cultural analysis team thinks this is a misunderstanding, based on different ideas about how space exploration works." "What do you mean?" asked Foreign Minister Lee. "The Empire expands by conquest," Una explained. "They take over other people's worlds by force. They cannot understand that we might explore space just because we are curious about it." President June nodded. "So when they see us building colonies, they think we are preparing for war." "Exactly. To them, colony building equals military expansion." "Science." Advisor Kim, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "I have been looking at the technical data our ships collected about Imperial technology. Their weapons and ships are about 50 years behind ours. Maybe more." "How much more?" President June asked. "Well," Kim said carefully, "their computers still use quantum processors. We switched to neural quantum hybrids 20 years ago. Their energy weapons are fusion-based. We have been using zero-point energy for decades, and they're faster than light drives." He paused. "What about their FTL drives?" Una asked. "They are still using warp technology. It is like they are riding bicycles while we drive hover cars." The room was quiet for a moment. Then President June asked the question everyone was thinking. "If we are so much more advanced than they are, why are they challenging us to a war?" "They do not know how advanced we are," Una said. "Remember, they have only seen our civilian ships. Exploration vessels, research stations, Colony transports, they have never seen our military technology, because we have not needed to use it, President June said. Right. The last time we had a real war was the Centauri Rebellion, and that ended 50 years ago. Since then, we have focused on science and exploration. President June looked around the table. So what are our options? Yuna opened a folder and pulled out a report. I see 3 possibilities. First, we could send a diplomatic team to explain the situation, tell them we are not a threat, and try to work out a peaceful solution. That sounds reasonable, said Foreign Minister Lee. Second, Yuna continued, we could deploy the Home Guard, show them some of our defensive capabilities, and convince them to back down. And third, President June asked. Yuna smiled. We could let the colonial militias handle it. As a training exercise, the outer colonies have been asking for more realistic combat simulations. President June raised his eyebrows. You want to use an invasion by 50,000 enemy ships as a training exercise? Sir, with respect, those ships are not a real threat to our colonies. Our automated defense systems could handle them without human involvement, but our colonial militias have not had a chance to practice with live targets in years. This could be good experience for them. Science Advisor Kim nodded. It would also give us a chance to test some of our newer non-lethal weapons. We have been working on systems that can disable enemy ships without killing the crews. Non-lethal? President June asked. Yes, sir. Electromagnetic pulse weapons that shut down ship systems, stun fields that put crews to sleep, tractor beams that can hold ships in place, that sort of thing. President June thought about this for a long time. Finally, he made his decision. We will go with option 3, he said. But I want strict rules. No unnecessary violence. No permanent damage to their ships if we can avoid it, and no casualties on either side. Understood, sir, Yuna said. I will contact the colonial commands and let them know about the exercise. Meanwhile, on Mars Station, dock worker Bo was having lunch with his friend Sung. They worked in the EU military storage section, where old ships and equipment were kept. It was usually quiet work, but today was different. Did you see all the activity in Section C? Bo asked as he ate his sandwich. Yeah, Sung said. They are moving out the old warships, the ones from the Centauri thing. Those old buckets? Why, would anyone want those? Sung shrugged. Commander Tay said they needed ships for some kind of training mission. Something about giving the colonies some practice. Bo laughed. Practice against what? Those ships are 50 years old. We replaced them with much better ones decades ago. I know, right? But Tay said they wanted older ships because the enemy they are practicing against has old technology too. Makes sense, I guess. No point using our newest ships against primitives, it would not be fair. On the other side of human space, Commander Tay was briefing his intelligence team about the Imperial threat. Tay was a professional spy who had spent years studying alien civilizations. He knew more about Imperial technology than most Imperial engineers. Ladies and gentlemen, he said to his team, we have been asked to prepare a threat assessment of the Galactic Empire's military capabilities. He activated a holographic display that showed Imperial ship designs. The good news is that this will not take long. Imperial technology is approximately 50 to 60 years behind current human standards. Their weapons are less powerful than our mining equipment. Their armor is thinner than our civilian ship hulls. And their computers are so slow that our children's toys have more processing power. One of his analysts raised her hand. Sir, if they are so far behind us, why are they attacking? Because they do not know they are behind us, Tay explained. The Empire has been the dominant power in their region for centuries. They are used to being more advanced than everyone they meet. They have no idea that humans have been developing technology at a much faster rate. How fast? Another analyst asked. We advance our technology about 10 times faster than they do. While they spent the last 50 years making small improvements to their weapons, we completely changed how we build ships, computers, and energy systems. So what happens when they attack our colonies? Tay smiled. It will be over very quickly. The main question is whether our people can disable the Imperial ships fast enough to avoid any Imperial casualties. We do not want to hurt them. They are not really our enemies. They are just confused. Back on the Imperial flagship, General Foxtar was reviewing his battle plans one more time. In 2 days, his fleet would attack the first human colony. He expected total victory within hours. He had no idea that the humans were already preparing a very different kind of welcome for him. Emperor Thexaval sat on his golden throne and looked at the reports on his desk. The papers made him angry. Very angry. For months, his advisors had been telling him about the humans. These strange creatures from the edge of the galaxy were doing things that no one should do in his empire. The humans were building colonies without asking permission. They were trading goods without paying taxes. They were exploring space that belonged to him. Worst of all, they acted like they did not even know he existed. Admiral Caney walked into the throne room. He was a tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms. He had been the Emperor's military leader for 20 years. Today, he looked worried. "My Emperor," Caney said as he bowed low, "I have more news about the humans." "Tell me," the Emperor said. His voice was cold and hard. Caney opened a datapad and began to read. 3 more human ships were seen in the Rigel sector yesterday. They said they were just looking around. They took pictures of our mining stations and asked our workers strange questions about their job satisfaction. The Emperor's eyes grew wide. "Job satisfaction?" "Yes, my lord. They also left behind some kind of medical supplies for our workers. The humans said the miners looked tired and might need vitamins." The Emperor stood up from his throne. He was very tall, with green skin and golden eyes that glowed when he was angry. Right now, they were glowing very bright. "They gave medicine to my workers?" he shouted. "There is more, my Emperor," Caney said quietly. "Last week, human traders were selling food in the Vega system. They were not using Imperial credits. They were trading for art and music from local people." Art and music? The Emperor could not believe what he was hearing. "Yes, my lord. They seem very excited about a singing crystal from Vega 3. They paid 10 times what it was worth just because they thought it was pretty." The Emperor walked to the large window that looked out over his capital city. Millions of beings lived here. Ships flew between the tall buildings. Everything he could see belonged to him. He ruled over 5,000 star systems and billions of people. He was the most powerful being in the galaxy. Or so he thought. "How many human colonies are there now?" he asked. Caney looked at his datapad again. "We think about 200, my lord. But it is hard to count them. They build their cities in strange places. Some are on planets we thought were too cold to live on. Others are floating in space near gas giant planets. 200 colonies, the Emperor said to himself, and they never asked for permission. "No, my lord. In fact, when we sent them the standard colonial taxation forms, they sent back a polite note saying thank you for the paperwork, but they already had a government." The Emperor turned around quickly. "They said what?" "They have their own government, my lord. They call it the Terran Federation. They said they would be happy to talk about trade agreements, but they do not pay taxes to foreign governments." "Foreign governments?" The Emperor's voice was getting louder. "I am the Emperor of the Galaxy." Caney took a step back. "Yes, my lord, but I do not think the humans know that." For a moment, the throne room was very quiet. Then the Emperor began to laugh. It was not a happy laugh. It was the kind of laugh that meant someone was about to have a very bad day. "They do not know who I am," he said. "These humans think they can ignore the Galactic Empire." "It seems that way, my lord." The Emperor walked back to his throne and sat down. He pressed a button on the arm of his chair. A hologram appeared in the air in front of him. It showed a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked all the worlds that belonged to his empire. There were thousands of them. "Show me the human worlds," he said. New dots appeared on the map. They were blue. There were not as many as the red dots, but they were spread out in a strange way. Most empires built their colonies close together for protection. The humans had put their colonies everywhere. Some were very far from others. "This makes no sense," the Emperor said. "How do they defend colonies that are so far apart?" "We do not know, my lord. Our spies have tried to watch human military exercises, but they could not find any." "What do you mean they could not find any?" Caney looked uncomfortable. The humans do not seem to have military exercises, my lord. When our spies asked about the human army, the humans looked confused. They said they had police and rescue teams, but no army. No army. The Emperor could not understand this. How do they protect their colonies? We think they have some kind of hidden defense system, my lord, but our spies could not find it. The Emperor thought about this for a long time. Then he smiled. It was not a nice smile. I know what is happening here, he said. These humans are trying to trick us. They want us to think they are weak and peaceful. Then, when we are not ready, they will attack. Do you really think so, my lord? Of course. No one builds 200 colonies without a strong military. They are hiding their real strength from us. The Emperor stood up again. But I am not fooled. I will show them what happens when someone tries to trick the Galactic Empire. The Emperor walked to another control panel. He pressed several buttons, and screens appeared all around the room. Each screen showed a different part of his empire. On one screen, he could see massive shipyards where his warships were built. On another, he could see training grounds where his soldiers practiced fighting. Admiral Caney, he said in a loud voice. I want you to send a message to the humans. Tell them they have 30 days to surrender to the Galactic Empire. If they do not surrender, we will destroy every human colony in the galaxy. Caney looked worried. My lord, are you sure? This is wise? We do not know much about human weapons or ships. They have no weapons, the Emperor shouted. They give vitamins to miners and trade for pretty crystals. They are weak. But my lord, what if— No. The Emperor pointed at Caney. I have decided. Send the message and prepare the war fleet. I want 50,000 ships ready to attack in 35 days. Caney bowed again. Yes, my Emperor, it will be done. The message was sent that same day. It traveled through space at the speed of light, carried by the Empire's fastest communication system. It reached the edge of human space 3 days later. The message arrived at a space station called New Busan. It was not a very big station. It looked more like a research center than a military base. Scientists worked there, studying stars and planets. The station commander was Admiral Hyuk, a middle-aged human with kind eyes and graying hair. Hyuk was drinking coffee in his office when the message came in. His assistant, a young woman named Lieutenant Park, brought him the data pad with the Emperor's ultimatum. Hyuk read the message slowly. Then he read it again. Then he started to smile. Lieutenant Park, he said, please forward this message to Earth Command and add a note from me. What should the note say, sir? Hyuk thought for a moment. Tell them. These guys are adorable. Should we tell them about the reserve fleet? Lieutenant Park looked confused. The reserve fleet, sir? Never mind, Hyuk said, still smiling. Just send the message, and Park, make sure to mark it as low priority. No need to wake anyone up over this. As the message traveled toward Earth, Captain Mira was exploring a star system near the edge of human space. Her ship, the Inchin's Dream, was looking for new planets that might be good for colonies. It was peaceful work that she enjoyed. Suddenly her sensors picked up something unusual. 3 ships were moving toward her position. They were not human ships. The design was strange, with too many weapons and not enough science equipment. Interesting, Mira said to herself. She turned on her ship's recording systems and watched the alien ships carefully. They seemed to be studying her ship, but their scanners were very old-fashioned. After a few minutes, the alien ships turned around and flew away. Mira looked at the data her ship had collected about them. The ships used old fusion drives and primitive energy weapons. Their computers were at least 50 years behind human technology. Well, she said to her crew, it looks like we have neighbors, and they still use fossil fuel ships. The Imperial fleet arrived at the Kepler 442 system, like a storm made of metal and fire. 50,000 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the same time, filling space with flashing lights and energy signatures. It was meant to be a show of overwhelming force. General Voxtar stood on his command bridge and looked at the view screen. In front of him was a small blue-green planet with white clouds. Orbital stations floated around it like tiny jewels. This was New Sol, a human agricultural colony with about 2 million people. "Sir," said his communications officer, "we are receiving a transmission from the planet." "Put it on screen," Voxtar ordered. The view screen changed to show a middle-aged human woman sitting at a desk. She had short black hair and kind eyes. Behind her, Voxtar could see what looked like an ordinary office with plants on the windowsill. "Hello," the woman said with a smile. "I am Colonial Administrator Jin. Welcome to New Sol. Can I help you with something?" Voxtar was confused. This was not how his enemies usually acted when he arrived with 50,000 warships. They usually screamed or begged for mercy. This human seemed genuinely happy to see him. "I am General Voxtar of the Imperial Fleet," he said in his most threatening voice. "You have 30 minutes to surrender your colony to the Galactic Empire." Administrator Jin looked thoughtful. "Oh, you must be the people who sent us that message last month. The one about joining your empire?" "Yes, and you ignored our Emperor's command." "Well," Jin said carefully, "we did discuss it at our monthly town meeting. But we already have a government we like. Most people voted to stay with the Terran Federation, I hope you understand." Voxtar could not believe what he was hearing. "You voted?" "Of course. That is how we make decisions here. Everyone gets to have their say." Jin paused. "Are you sure you need to attack us? We have some very nice local wine if you would like to try some instead." "Silence," Voxtar shouted. "You will surrender now or face the consequences." Jin sighed. "Well, if you insist on fighting, I suppose we will have to defend ourselves. Let me activate our defense systems." She pressed a button on her desk. Around the planet, structures that had looked like communication satellites began to move. They unfolded like metal flowers, revealing complex machinery inside. "Defense systems?" Voxtar laughed. "Those tiny satellites cannot stop my fleet." What he did not know was that the satellites were actually repurposed asteroid mining rigs. Engineer Hana had spent the morning programming them to deal with what she called space pests. The mining rigs were designed to grab large rocks and break them into small pieces. Hana figured that spaceships were just rocks that moved around and shot back. "Sir," said Voxtar's tactical officer, "I am getting strange readings from those satellites. They seem to be very large." "What do you mean, very large?" "Sir, each one has an energy signature bigger than our entire flagship." Voxtar frowned. That could not be right. The satellites looked tiny compared to his massive warships. "Check your sensors. They must be malfunctioning." "I have checked them twice, sir. The readings are correct." Before Voxtar could respond, his communications officer spoke up. "Sir, we are receiving another transmission. This one is not from the planet." "Put it through." A new voice came over the speakers. It was calm and friendly, like someone calling to chat with a neighbor. "Imperial Fleet, this is Captain Nari of the Terran patrol vessel Gangnam. Please identify yourselves and state your business in this system." Voxtar looked at his tactical display. He could not see any ships except his own. "Where are you?" he demanded. "About 10 kilometers off your starboard bow," Captain Nari replied. "Sorry, we were finishing lunch when you arrived. We did not want to interrupt our cook's famous bulgogi." "Impossible. Our sensors show no ships in that area." "Oh, you probably cannot see us with those sensors. They look pretty old." "When were they made?" This was getting ridiculous. Voxtar turned to his sensor operator. "Full active scan, find that ship." The sensor operator worked frantically at his controls. "Sir, I am scanning everything within 100 kilometers. There are no ships except ours." "We are right here," Captain Nari said patiently. "Look, I will turn on our navigation lights so you can see us better." Suddenly, a ship appeared on the view screen. It was small and sleek, with smooth lines and a hull that seemed to shimmer in the starlight. It looked more like a work of art than a military vessel. "There," Captain Nari said. "Can you see us now?" Voxtar stared at the ship. It was beautiful, but it was also tiny compared to his flagship. "That is your warship?" he asked. "Warship? Oh no, this is just a patrol boat. We use it to keep space pirates away from the school field trips." School field trips? Yes, the children from New Seoul Elementary take trips to the outer planets to study geology. We make sure no one bothers them. Voxtar was getting a headache. This conversation was not going at all like he had planned. Listen carefully, human. I have 50,000 ships, you have one small patrol boat. Surrender now or I will destroy your colony. There was a pause. Then Captain Nari said, 50,000? Really? Wow, that is a lot of ships. Are they all as old as your flagship? Old? This is the newest dreadnought in the Imperial fleet. Oh. Well, they look very traditional. Anyway, I should probably call for backup. 50,000 is more than I usually deal with by myself. Backup? Voxtar laughed. How many ships could you possibly have? Just 2 more patrol boats. The Hongdae and the Myeongdong should be here in a few minutes. Voxtar could not believe this. 3 small patrol boats against his massive fleet? These humans were either incredibly brave or completely insane. Sir, his tactical officer said quietly, I am detecting 2 more ships approaching. They just appeared on sensors. From where? I do not know, sir. They were not there a second ago and now they are. The 2 new ships were identical to the first one. Small, elegant, and somehow menacing despite their size. Hello, Nari, came a new voice over the communication system. This is Captain Wu of the Hongdae. Sorry we are late. We were helping some colonists move a space whale that had gotten lost. A space whale? Voxtar muttered. No problem, Wu. Captain Nari replied. We have an Imperial fleet here that wants to attack the colony. 50,000 ships. 50,000. That seems excessive. Do they know this is just an agricultural colony? I tried to explain, but they seemed determined to fight. A third voice joined the conversation. This is Captain Hana of the Myeongdong. What did the colonists decide to do? Administrator Jin activated the mining rigs, Captain Nari said. She set them to pest control mode. Pest control? Voxtar shouted. You are calling my fleet pests? Well, Captain Nari said diplomatically, you did show up uninvited and threaten to attack civilians. That is sort of pest-like behavior. Voxtar had heard enough. All ships attack formation, destroy those patrol boats. The Imperial fleet began to move. 50,000 ships turned toward the 3 small human vessels. Weapons powered up, missile tubes loaded. It should have been the end of the fight before it really began. Instead, something very strange happened. The human ships simply vanished. Where did they go? Voxtar demanded. Sir, they are everywhere, his tactical officer said in a shaky voice. The 3 patrol boats had not actually disappeared. They had moved so fast that the Imperial sensors could not track them. In the space of a few seconds, they had positioned themselves throughout the Imperial fleet. Imperial fleet, Captain Nari's voice said calmly. This is your final warning. Please leave this system peacefully, or we will be forced to disable your ships. You cannot disable 50,000 ships with 3 patrol boats, Voxtar screamed. Watch us, Captain Wu said. What happened next would be talked about in Imperial military academies for generations. The 3 human patrol boats moved through, the Imperial fleet like dancers in a carefully choreographed performance. They did not fire conventional weapons. Instead, they used tools that the Imperials had never seen before. Electromagnetic pulse beams shut down ship engines. Tractor rays grabbed vessels and gently moved them out of formation. Sleep gas was pumped into ship ventilation systems, putting crews into peaceful slumber. In less than an hour, the entire Imperial fleet was floating helplessly in space. Not a single Imperial ship was destroyed. Not a single Imperial soldier was killed. They had all simply been turned off. There, Captain Nari said as she surveyed the field of drifting Imperial ships. That was not too bad. Medical Officer Sol should be here soon to make sure everyone is okay. Voxtar, who had been knocked unconscious by sleep gas, woke up in the medical bay of a human ship. A kind-faced woman was checking his vital signs. Good morning, she said with a smile. I am Dr. Sol. How are you feeling? What happened to my fleet? Voxtar asked weakly. Oh, they are all fine. We used non-lethal weapons only. Everyone will be perfectly healthy once the sleep gas wears off. Non-lethal weapons? Of course, we could not just kill 50,000 people. That would be terrible. Dr. Saul looked genuinely shocked at the idea. We are going to repair any damage to your ships and send you home safely. Voxtar stared at her. You are going to repair our ships? After we attacked you? Well, yes. You were confused about our intentions. That is not really your fault. Besides, your ships are so old that they probably need maintenance anyway. General Voxtar woke up in what looked like a hospital room, but it was unlike any medical facility he had ever seen. The walls were a soft blue color, and there were real plants growing in pots near the window. Sunlight streamed in from somewhere, though he knew he was on a spaceship. Dr. Saul was sitting in a chair next to his bed reading something on a small device. When she saw him wake up, she smiled and put the device away. Good morning, General, she said. You have been sleeping for about 6 hours. How do you feel? Voxtar tried to sit up. His body felt fine, but his mind was full of confusion. Where am I? You are aboard the medical ship Sejong's Mercy. We brought all the Imperial officers here so we could make sure everyone was healthy after the battle. Battle? Voxtar laughed bitterly. That was not a battle. That was... I do not know what that was. Dr. Saul looked concerned. Are you having trouble remembering what happened? Sometimes sleep gas can affect short-term memory. No, I remember everything, Voxtar said. That is the problem. A young man in a blue uniform entered the room. He had the kind of face that made you think he was always smiling even when he was not. General Voxtar, the man said. I am Chief Engineer Dana. Dr. Saul asked me to explain some things to you while she checks on your other officers. Dr. Saul stood up. I will be back to check on you later, General. Dana is very good at explaining complicated things in simple ways. After she left, Dana pulled the chair closer to Voxtar's bed and sat down. So, Dana said, I hear you have some questions about what happened to your fleet. How is this possible? Voxtar asked. 50,000 ships defeated by 3 patrol boats. It makes no sense. Well, Dana said thoughtfully, I think the problem is that you and we have different ideas about what those patrol boats actually are. What do you mean? Dana activated a holographic projector on his wrist. A 3-dimensional image of the Gangnam appeared in the air between them. You see this as a small patrol boat, Dana said. And you are right, it is small. But you are thinking about size the wrong way. I do not understand. Look at this, Dana said, pointing to different parts of the hologram. What you call the engine section contains a power source that could supply energy to your entire home planet for a year. What you think are small weapons are actually precision tools that can manipulate matter at the atomic level. Voxtar stared at the hologram. That is impossible. Here, let me show you something else. Dana changed the hologram to show the inside of the ship. See this section here? That is the computer core. It has more processing power than all the computers in your 50,000 ships combined. But it is so small. Size does not matter as much as you think, Dana said. We learned a long time ago how to make things smaller and more efficient. Your ships are big because your technology requires a lot of space. Our ships are small because our technology does not. Dana stood up and walked to the window. Would you like to see something interesting? Voxtar got out of bed and joined him at the window. Outside, he could see his Imperial fleet. The ships were arranged in neat rows, and human vessels were moving between them like busy worker bees. What are they doing? Voxtar asked. Repairing and upgrading your ships, Dana said. We found a lot of problems. Old power systems, outdated computers, weapons that had not been properly maintained in years. You are fixing our ships? After we attacked you? Of course. It would be rude to send you home in broken ships. Dana paused. Also, some of your crew members are sick. Not from the fight, just from poor living conditions on their ships. Dr. Soul is treating them. Voxtar watched as a human repair ship gently lifted a damaged Imperial fighter and carried it to what looked like a mobile workshop. I do not understand you people, he said finally. What do you mean? We came here to destroy your colony and conquer your people. Instead, you defeated us without killing anyone, and now you are helping us. Why? Dana thought about this for a moment. Can I ask you a question first? I suppose. Why did you want to attack us? Voxtar was surprised by the question. Because you were building colonies in Imperial space without permission. But we were not in Imperial space. We were in empty systems that no one was using. Those systems belong to the Empire. Says who? Says the Emperor. He rules the galaxy. Dana nodded. I see. And how much of the galaxy does the Emperor actually control? Voxtar was getting frustrated. Thousands of star systems. Billions of people. The Empire is the greatest civilization in galactic history. That is very impressive, Dana said. Would you like to see a map? Before Voxtar could answer, Dana activated his holographic projector again. This time it showed a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked Imperial worlds. These are your systems, Dana said. There were many red dots spread across a large area of space. Voxtar felt proud seeing them all together like this. Now, Dana said, let me show you human systems. Blue dots appeared on the map. There were fewer of them, but they were scattered in strange patterns across the galaxy. This is confusing, Voxtar said. Why are your colonies so far apart? Because we explore in all directions, Dana explained. We do not try to control territory. We just go wherever there are interesting things to study. But how do you defend colonies that are so spread out? We do not need to defend them. Most of the galaxy is empty. There's plenty of room for everyone. Dana made a gesture, and the map zoomed out to show more of the galaxy. This is the problem, Dana said gently. Look at the scale. The red and blue dots were now tiny specks in an enormous spiral of stars. The area that had looked so large before was actually just a small corner of the galaxy. Your empire controls about 3% of the galaxy, Dana said. We have explored about 15%. The rest is empty space waiting for someone to discover what is out there. Voxtar stared at the map. 3%? Yes. And there is nothing wrong with that. 3% of the galaxy is still an enormous area with billions of worlds and countless people. You should be proud of what your empire has built. But we are the greatest civilization in history. You are the greatest civilization in your part of history, Dana said kindly. Other parts of the galaxy have different civilizations with different histories. Voxtar was quiet for a long time. Finally, he asked, how long have you been exploring space? Humans have been traveling between stars for about 400 years, but we only started serious deep space exploration about 50 years ago. 50 years? We have been building our empire for over 1,000 years. That is the difference, Dana said. You spent 1,000 years conquering and controlling the worlds around you. We spent our time developing new technologies and learning how to travel farther and faster. So while we were fighting wars, you were fighting wars, and we were building better starships. You were managing conquered planets, and we were inventing new computers. You were training soldiers, and we were teaching our children to explore the universe. The door opened and Admiral Hayek walked in. He was a calm-looking man with gray hair and the kind of eyes that had seen many things. General Voxtar, he said with a slight bow. I am Admiral Hayek of the Terran Deep Space Fleet. I apologize for the delay in meeting you. I was in another star system when this situation developed. Voxtar looked at him suspiciously. Deep Space Fleet? How many ships do you have? In my immediate command, 12 ships. 12 ships? Voxtar could not hide his surprise. But your patrol boats defeated 50,000 of mine. Yes, well, patrol boats and deep spaceships are designed for different purposes, Admiral Hayek said. My ships are built for long-range exploration and diplomacy. Much larger than patrol boats, but not really designed for combat. If 12 exploration ships are larger than patrol boats and 3 patrol boats defeated my entire fleet? Voxtar did not finish the thought. General, Admiral Hayek said gently, I think there has been a serious misunderstanding here. When Emperor Thexval sent his ultimatum, he mentioned something about the Terran Armada. I think he was referring to our patrol boats and exploration ships as if they were a military force. Are they not? No. The Colonial Patrol Service keeps pirates away from trade routes and helps with emergencies. The Deep Space Fleet explores new star systems and makes contact with other civilizations. Neither organization is military. Voxtar felt dizzy. Then where is your military? Admiral Hayek and Dana exchanged glances. We do not really have one, Admiral Hayek said. We have police forces and rescue services, but we have not needed a military for decades. How is that possible? We have not found anyone worth fighting, Admiral Hayek said simply. Most civilizations we meet are either friendly or so primitive that fighting them would be like adults bullying children. We prefer to make friends and trade partners. But what if someone attacks you? Well, Admiral Hayek said with a small smile, they would have to find something of ours worth attacking. First, most of our valuable installations are in deep space, far from any trade routes or inhabited systems, and our technology is generally advanced enough that we can avoid conflicts before they start. Advanced enough, Voxtar repeated. How advanced? Dana activated his projector again. This time it showed technical specifications for human and Imperial technology side by side. Your fastest ships can travel at about 10 times the speed of light, he said. Emperor Thexaval had never seen Earth before. As his ship approached the blue-green planet, he found himself staring out the window like a child seeing the ocean for the first time. The planet looked peaceful, with white clouds swirling over, green continents and deep blue seas. It is so calm, he said to Admiral Hyuk, who was sitting beside him. Most of our worlds are like this, Hyuk replied. We learned long ago that peaceful planets are happier planets. Happy people are more creative and productive. The Emperor's ship was not his massive Imperial flagship. That ship was too big and threatening for a diplomatic visit. Instead, he was traveling in a human diplomatic vessel called the King Sejong. It was comfortable and elegant, with large windows and rooms that felt more like a luxury hotel than a spaceship. I still do not understand why you invited me here, the Emperor said. My fleet attacked your colony. By all rights, you should have destroyed us. Why would we do that? Hyuk asked. You were operating on incomplete information. It would be like punishing someone for getting lost when no one gave them a proper map. The ship landed at a spaceport that looked more like a garden than a military facility. Trees and flowers grew everywhere, and the landing pads were made of some kind, of crystal that sparkled in the sunlight. Emperor Thexaval had expected to see weapons and guards. Instead, he saw families having picnics and children playing games. President June was waiting for them at the landing pad. He was dressed simply, in clothes that looked comfortable rather than impressive. When he saw the Emperor, he smiled and walked forward with his hand extended. Emperor Thexval, he said, welcome to Earth. I hope your journey was pleasant. The Emperor hesitated for a moment, then shook the President's hand. Thank you for not destroying my fleet. Think nothing of it, President June said. Misunderstandings happen. The important thing is that we talk about them and find solutions. They walked together through the spaceport. The Emperor noticed that there were no guards, no weapons visible, anywhere. People looked at him with curiosity but not fear. Some even waved and smiled. Are you not worried that I might be dangerous? The Emperor asked. Are you planning to be dangerous? President June replied. Well, no. Then I am not worried. They entered a building that looked like it was made of glass and light. Inside, the walls showed pictures of space, stars, planets, and nebulae that moved slowly like living paintings. The Emperor had never seen anything so beautiful. This is our diplomatic center, President June explained. We use it for meetings with representatives from other worlds. How many other worlds? We have formal diplomatic relations with about 30 different civilizations, trade agreements with twice that many, and we are in contact with over 100 different species. The Emperor stopped walking. 100 species? Oh yes, the galaxy is full of interesting people. Most of them are friendly once you get to know them. They took an elevator to the top floor of the building. The Emperor's office back home was designed to be intimidating, with a massive throne and dark, colors that made visitors feel small. This office was the opposite. It had comfortable chairs, plenty of natural light, and windows that looked out over a city where humans and aliens walked together on tree-lined streets. "Please sit wherever you like," President June said. The Emperor chose a chair near the window. "Your city, those are not all humans down there. No, Earth is home to representatives from many worlds. We find that different species often have different ideas, and different ideas lead to better solutions." Secretary Yuna entered the room carrying a folder of documents. She nodded politely to the Emperor, then sat down across from him. "Emperor Thexaval," she said, "we have prepared a proposal for future relations between the Galactic Empire and the Terran Federation." The Emperor tensed. This was where they would demand his surrender, where they would tell him that his empire now belonged to them. "What are your terms?" he asked. Yuna opened the folder. "First, we propose a mutual non-interference agreement. We will not interfere with Imperial internal affairs, and the Empire will not interfere with Terran activities in unoccupied star systems." "That sounds reasonable," the Emperor said cautiously. "Second, we would like to offer technological aid to Imperial worlds that are suffering from resource shortages or environmental problems. We have developed some very effective techniques for cleaning polluted atmospheres and restoring damaged ecosystems." The Emperor blinked. "You want to help us?" "Of course. Many Imperial worlds are struggling with problems that we solved decades ago. It seems wasteful to let people suffer when we could easily help." "And what do you want in return?" President June leaned forward. "This might sound strange, but we are very interested in Imperial art and music. Our cultural experts tell us that your civilization has produced some of the most beautiful poetry and sculpture they have ever encountered. You want our art? We want to learn about it," Secretary Yuna said. "We would like to set up cultural exchange programs. Imperial artists could visit human worlds to share their techniques, and human artists could visit the Empire to learn from your masters." The Emperor was completely confused now. "You defeated my fleet and now you want to trade poetry?" "Why not?" President June asked. "Military victories are temporary, art lasts forever." A young woman entered the office. She had the kind of energy that made everyone look up when she walked into a room. "Emperor," President June said, "this is Director Min from our Cultural Institute. She has been studying Imperial artistic traditions for years." Director Min practically bounced with excitement as she shook the Emperor's hand. "Your Majesty, I cannot tell you how thrilled I am to meet you. The singing crystals from Vega 3 that your people create, they are absolutely magnificent. And the stone carvings from your homeworld, the way they capture emotion in static material is revolutionary." "You know about our singing crystals?" "Oh yes, we have been trying to understand how they work for years. The acoustic properties are unlike anything we have encountered. And your poetry, the way Imperial poets use mathematical relationships to create emotional resonance, it is genius." The Emperor sat back in his chair. For the first time in days, he felt proud instead of confused. "Many people do not understand our artistic traditions," he said. "Then they are missing something wonderful," Director Min replied. "Beauty is one of the few things that can truly bring different peoples together." Over the next hour, they discussed the details of what would become known as the Terran Imperial Cultural Accord. The Empire would share its artistic knowledge with humanity. In return, humans would help Imperial worlds solve their environmental and technological problems. "There is one more thing," Secretary Yuna said. "We would like to propose joint exploration missions to unexplored regions of the galaxy. Imperial knowledge of local space conditions combined with human long-range exploration technology could open up entirely new areas for peaceful development." "Peaceful development?" "Colonies, research stations, trading posts," President June explained. "Places where both Imperial and human citizens could work together to build something new." The Emperor thought about this for a long time. Finally, he asked, "Why are you being so kind to us?" We attacked you. President June smiled. Emperor, humanity spent centuries making the same mistakes your empire is making now. We conquered people. We fought wars over territory. We thought that being strong meant being feared. What changed? We realized that the universe is very large and very empty. There is room for everyone to have what they need without taking it away from others. And we learned that working together produces better results than fighting. It is that simple? It is that simple. 6 months later, Commander Tay was writing his final report on what historians were already calling the Imperial Incident. He sat in his office on Mars Station, looking out at the busy spaceport where human and Imperial ships were now landing side by side. Final casualty report, he dictated to his computer. Human casualties. 2 minor injuries when Technician Lee tripped while helping to repair Imperial navigation systems. Imperial casualties. No deaths, no permanent injuries, significant damage to pride, but excellent recovery rate. He paused to watch an Imperial cargo ship being loaded with human-made environmental restoration equipment. Diplomatic outcome. Complete. Success. The Galactic Empire has agreed to all proposed terms for peaceful coexistence. Cultural exchange programs are exceeding all expectations. Imperial art is proving extremely popular with human audiences, and human technology is helping to solve resource problems on 17 Imperial worlds. A message appeared on his computer screen. It was from his daughter, who was studying at the new Terran Imperial University on Valdros Prime. Dad, the message read, you should see the Imperial poetry class I am taking. Professor Thexaval, the Emperor's cousin, is teaching us to write verses that sound like music. Also, I am teaching a group of Imperial students how to pilot human-style spacecraft. They are amazed that our ships can think for themselves. P.S. My Imperial roommate's father says to thank Captain Nari for being so gentle when she captured his ship. He says it was the most polite defeat in military history. Commander. Tay smiled and closed the message. Then he finished his report.